We're about to up the ante with our eBay games series, where I browse the 4 parts or not working section of eBay, looking for cheap, broken computers to fix up. Definitely just for the video series, and not because I am horribly addicted to eBay. This time I spent right around $90, which is a step up from the $30 computer we messed with previously. But with great risk, well, medium risk, comes the potential for great, well, above average reward. Or things will just go terribly wrong, in which case we can go on a streak of mindless destruction. Let's check out the newest deal. Like I said, it was about $90 for this computer that, in the pictures, looks like it got ran over by a car, which gives me ideas for future content. Anyway, aside from the beat-up appearance, the listing said it is generally functional. And the computer, as well as the specs that it came with, really aren't bad in the slightest, for a variety of reasons that we'll get into. First of all, when I received the computer, it actually didn't look quite as bad as the pictures until I cracked it open. The inside actually looks perfectly fine, which is most important, but this side panel isn't going back on without a fight. It has this large dent in the side where it looks like someone got frustrated trying to open it and just decided to go in with a crowbar, which I have to say, I like their style. And the rest looked about like the pictures. In other words, pretty beat up. As far as the specs, this is the Dell OptiPlex 3060, which is not a bad computer at all. It holds an 8th generation Intel processor, and it came with the i5-8600, which is a 6-core processor that runs at 3.1 GHz base up to 4.3 GHz turbo boost. If it's functional, that CPU is valuable just in itself. It also came with 8 GB of RAM, but it's only DDR4 2133 MHz, and the CPU can run a higher speed at DDR4 2666 MHz. I have some of that laying around because I have just about every type of older RAM laying around, so I'll probably swap that out for the higher speed and also a larger amount. Also, there's an M2 slot on the board for an SSD, which is always a plus when I'm looking at these older office-style PCs. I fired up the computer to test it out, and everything works like a charm. Which means we got a pretty significant discount, not major, but significant, just because the case is beat up. Now, the other sort of downside of that is because the case is in such bad shape, it's probably not going to pan out for me to fix up and resell the computer. And I'm not going to case swap it because I will never buy a case. I refuse to buy a case, I won't do it. Even though that would be a good solution, I just don't want to spend the money on it. So, what are we going to do with it? Well, I have a few ideas. Alright, we haven't quite reached that point yet. What I'm probably going to do is use this computer as a retro emulation machine. It's already spec'd well enough that we could do some serious emulation. I'll probably add a GPU of some kind, which I'm hoping to kick the emulation up a notch from what I've been able to do in the past with some of these older, inexpensive machines. Also, since this generation of OptiPlex, like a lot of other Office PCs, comes with an official Windows key embedded in the firmware, and since I'm not going to run Windows on it, I'll be able to use that key in other builds and upgrades in the future, which again is always a bonus, and there is value in that, especially if you want to do things officially. So where does that leave us now? Well, I'd say this is definitely a score trailer for our eBay Games shenanigans, and I have a bit of a spoiler for our next, or at least one of the next videos. Because we're not going to test this out just yet beyond what we did to make sure it functions. I'm going to do some upgrades on the PC, and then I want to pull it out of this warped case. Then I want to make just a basic, true to our style, probably somewhat crude, wall-mounted PC. We'll do some basic upgrades, and then we'll get into the emulation testing. Might go bad, but it should at least be interesting. So I just wanted to touch on the deal here, but fear not, we will get a little crazy with it. Because we like to get a little crazy. We like to get a little crazy! Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.